Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. Can't believe it's almost the end of April and May is just this weekend. Today, you are all stuck with just me. I'm Dr. Jess Trimble. I am Kelly's typical weekly Wednesday co-host to talk about telehealth. But unfortunately, Kelly couldn't join us today because she had to take her dog to the vet. She has this lovely Labradoodle named Noah, and every week when I talk to her, it seems like Noah's got something else going on. So she unfortunately had to miss to take the poor pup to the vet. And I think the vet knows her very well at this point, for better or for worse. So we'll be thinking of Noah and his ear infection today. But also just kind of a little doctor tip on the side, being a veterinarian, I've never met a doodle without allergies. I've never met a doodle that doesn't get ear infections. And fun fact is that allergies in dogs can be managed with the same medications that allergies in humans can. So that's your little fun veterinary fact of the day. But let's talk about the bigger picture. So for me this week, it has felt like things are really starting to change now. We've sort of been stuck in quarantine mode and marathon mode of just trying to truck through it all. But this week, we're now starting to see these declarations from governors where they are lessening their restrictions. And so here in Colorado, we got switched from the stay-at-home order to the safer-at-home order. And they're now starting to allow veterinary practices in some states to practice the non-essential services, so the spays and neuters, things like that. Some businesses are starting to reopen again, and I've seen a lot of mixed emotions from veterinarians about this. Some are excited, others are saying, no way, absolutely not. I think this is way too early. And so it'll be interesting to see how things open and how it rolls out over the next several weeks and how it will affect all of us. But let's get started with our news tip of the day first. And it's something that I'm really excited about and something that we've been trying to get to happen for a couple of years now, is this Veterinary Virtual Care Association. And I'm so excited about this for a couple of reasons. One, it's a nonprofit, which I think is fantastic. Two, the board that they put together for this Virtual Care Association is an incredible group of people who have been involved in virtual care from the very beginning and have run their own businesses and really have a lot of knowledge. And so what they're saying, and I really love how they phrase this, so I'll read it to you real quick, and that the current ecosphere is populated by a disorganized array of practitioners, technology providers, and allied partners with no consensus on how to move forward. And just that line right there struck me that that's really how a lot of our veterinary profession is going right now. Unfortunately, it's disorganized. There's a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different things, and nobody's really coming forward to form this consensus. And so that's where the VVCA is going to come in. So they will be aiming to advocate for best practices, for educational resources, webinars with thought leaders, and basically just a space for people to come together and accelerate the adoption of telehealth. And if you remember, just 3 or 4 years ago, telehealth was still very much a bad word. So it's very exciting to me to see how fast we've moved on this. It took the human world about 15 years to really embrace telehealth. And so we're obviously pretty far behind, but what we are doing is we are doing this in an accelerated manner. Now, COVID has certainly forced this accelerated manner of putting this together, but for better or for worse, we now have a Virtual Care Association. It's officially 2 days old, so don't go too crazy yet, but I expect this association to do some great things based on the people that are forming it, and I'll be helping to contribute content to this as well. So you can join now as one of their founding members, and they will send you more information on how to get involved and join later. But I'm mostly just incredibly excited that this is going to be such a great step forward to help bring virtual care into the profession, as well as to allow practitioners to be a part of this and it not just be the little platforms pushing their own agendas forward or individual people pushing their own agendas forward. This will be a really great thing. So please get involved. Please join. Would love to have as many people as possible jump in on this. So that's the news of the day. Let's go on to our tip of the day. And tip of the day is transition plan. So, I said it earlier, it feels like things are just changing a lot faster all of a sudden this week as states are lessening these restrictions and allowing businesses to reopen. So a lot of the veterinarians that I've spoken to are still saying, we're not going to change a thing. We're still doing curbside. Everyone's still wearing masks. We're not allowing people in the office, and that's great. The house call practitioners I have spoken with are, I think, especially concerned, obviously, because they're going into people's homes. There was an interesting study in the journal Nature this week where they showed that the viral particles of COVID, while we thought that they were in large droplets, which means you sneeze, it goes into the air, but it's a large droplet, so it sinks rather quickly and doesn't stay in the air for a long time. They're showing that this actually is aerosolizing longer than we think, or more than we think. Those particles are much smaller than what we thought, and that it can actually stay in the air for multiple hours past somebody being there, which is scary, but good to know. So keep wearing those masks, even if there's nobody else around you, because even if somebody was there a couple hours before, especially in small spaces, we should be concerned. And so this relates a lot to our small animal practitioners in small treatment rooms, to our mobile house call vets who are going into people's bathrooms to try to trap cats. Those are still dangerous situations. And so transition plans will have to be particular to every single hospital, every single doctor. Obviously, your transition plan is even going to have to take into account your own personal health. If you're an at-risk person, you're going to want a slower rollout of the transition plan. But now is the time to think about it. And specifically, more so, how are you going to think about this with your telehealth plan? If you have instituted telehealth, I get the feeling that a lot of practitioners think that they're going to lessen their use of telehealth as they transition people back into their in-person care. But I'd really encourage you to think about that a little differently. How can you keep telehealth being the central part of your practice and then have in-person care be just a part of that landscape? And so for me, telehealth should be the center of your practice. And when I say that, I mean that's really just your main communication point with your client. They're asking little health questions, they're asking for advice, they're asking for education, and then that can branch off into an appointment. So I'd encourage you to think differently about how you can keep telehealth as just an integral part of your practice as this rolls out. How will it fit into your transition? How can you continue to benefit from it long term? And in the horrible but very likely case that we will be back into some sort of quarantine mode in the fall, there's a lot of doctors that are recommending that we prepare to deal with this again in the fall as the virus does a resurgence, as they typically do seasonally. How will you launch your virtual care to the next level again when needed in the fall? How can you just turn it on without the struggle of trying to figure out how it fits in? So this is the perfect time to do that. Really put some time and thought into those transition plans over the next couple of weeks. One, to keep yourself safe and your staff safe, but two, to make sure you're prepared if you ever have to do this again. And three, to make sure that all the hard work you put in to get your telehealth program up and running doesn't just go poof when you are switching back to regular life again. So a lot of things to think about there, but it's a really critical part of your practice to think about. So that's my tip of the day for you guys. And I know that Kelly typically ends this with a marketing to self message. What are you doing right now to ensure your well-being or your staff's well-being? And so I guess for me, my marketing to self message is to get out in the sunshine, to exercise, and to get your hands dirty. I've always found it fascinating. One, that UV light is actually good for your health, obviously in limited forums for some sunscreen, but it's great for your immune system. Dirt, those bacteria and various little microbes that live in the dirt are so good for your mood. There's some awesome studies showing that just exposure to that bacteria, and then as that bacteria sort of becomes a part of your own normal bacteria, can actually help your mood increase on a longer term basis. And then exercise. I was feeling pretty down on myself last week, and then I finally got out and did a 7-mile hike this weekend, and I feel like a new person. So sunshine, dirt, and exercise. I just don't think that you can get much better than that if you need sort of that self-care and well-being. And please don't be afraid to do it. You've got to spend some time with yourself, working on yourself, making sure that yourself is whole before we can go and help anybody else. So focus on yourself so that you can focus on other people as well. That's my my bright and sunshiny message today. So thanks for joining us. I will be here next week on Wednesday as well. If you do have questions, you can visit me personally. I've got my own website. It's called welovetelemed.com, or you can ask Kelly. She knows how to get a hold of me. I'm always happy to help and provide advice to anyone who needs help with telehealth in their own practices. So thanks a lot, and we will see you next week, hopefully with Kelly here then too.